Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Jamie, the crafty DIY guy, and I'm back. I've got a collaboration video for you today with a Maker's Studio. If you're not familiar with the Maker's Studio, you need to definitely, first of all, check out my unboxing video that I posted a couple weeks ago. I shared with you some of the goodies that they sent me, including mesh stencils, ceramic paints, gel art ink paints, some really cool tools that I had never used before. Just a lot of really interesting, fun stuff. And this video is all of the DIY projects that I made with those items. So there are 4 DIY projects in this video, and I am going to link everything below. That way, if you want to check out a Maker Studio as well, again, they have fantastic mesh stencils. They have fantastic paints. They have a paint product called Restore Rescue that literally is a one-step paint for reviving wood surfaces and actually painting wood surfaces. There's no crazy stripping. There's nothing like that involved in it. That's the paint, by the way, Makers, if you're watching this video right now, that's the one I think I want to try next. Again, just some amazing stuff. And I really had a lot of fun. So there's a link down below for checking out the website, and then there's some links to some of the individual products that I'll be sharing with you guys today. Also, if you are one of my long-term subscribers, you know I call you guys my OGs. Thank you so much for being here. It's been an amazing ride, and I'm super excited to be sharing products like this with you guys, because I know that some of you have already been inspired just from the unboxing video and have bought some of the stuff already because you've emailed me and told me that. So yay for that. If you're brand new to the channel or just checking it out for the first time, welcome. I mean, seriously, I hope that you enjoy it and that you'll stick around and that you'll want to see some really cool projects. I do Dollar Tree DIYs. I do thrift flips. I do some garbage hauls. I do a little bit of everything. I even have a talk show called The Crafty Chit Chat Show that will be coming back in January of 2021. So stick around, hang out for a while. And then of course, if YouTube recommended you or shared, said, hey, check out this dude's video, and you checked it out and you loved it, thank you, YouTube, because of course, I hope that you'll want to stick around and become a subscriber as well. So let's get into these super cool projects. I'm really excited about them. All right, everyone, for my first project with a Maker Studio, I am super excited. I'm going to be using these rub-on transfers. Now, I know you're probably thinking that they look like they're pretty small in this package, but trust me, they are not. I also grabbed this plastic tray. I picked this up at like Dollar General, maybe even Dollar Tree. Check out those rub-on transfers. Look how big they are and how many options you're going to have. And I mean, it was hard to decide what word to use, but I did finally end up going with the word blessed. So I'm just going to cut it off of the transfer sheet, and then I am literally going to trim it up just a little bit because, it's a little sloppy with the cut, and I want to make sure that I have a very nice clean line on here. And because my tray is plastic, I am going to actually add just a little bit of Scotch tape on the end of my transfer sheet because I want to make sure that this stays in place when I'm applying it to the tray. Obviously, I want to make this look good. I've only got one shot at this because there's just the one word blessed on there. Of course, I would have tons of other options if the word didn't turn out, but as you'll see, it's pretty foolproof. So they do send this kind of oversized popsicle stick along with the transfer package, and what I love about that is because that transfer ink is so dark, you can literally see as you are rubbing it how it is coming off from that transfer sheet. Like, check it out. You can totally tell that the B and all of the lettering is going to be coming off of that transfer sheet so easily. And what I love about that is that if you notice an area that maybe isn't quite as light as the other areas, that means you need to keep rubbing it with that transfer stick. And when you finally do get all of that ink transferred over onto your surface, look how amazing it looks. It literally just came right off. Now, I wanted to also add something else to my tray, so I'm going to use this word joy that was also on that transfer sheet. Same technique here, and look how great this candle looks. I made my own candle using those transfer sheets. So again, now I'm just going to add this wooden tassel that I made in a DIY video quite a while ago, and it is the perfect coffee table accent. I love this, and it's super transitional. You could use this all year long. You could use this for the holidays. There are a lot of great options to do with this one. And for my next project with a Maker Studio, I have this cutting board. I've had this cutting board for a while. There's nothing wrong with it, and I just want to personalize it a little bit more. Now, I saw these really cool stencils from a Maker Studio, and I thought that this could be fun to add to this cutting board. Now, I'm actually only going to be using the word yum on this cutting board, but how cute would that entire stencil be with that chicken or even the rise and shine part of that? I'm just going to cut around this and use the word yum on here. And for the paint, I'm going to be using their Gel Art ink paint. And this is a great paint. And what's really cool about this is that it does work on a lot of different surfaces. Now, it is not a paint that is food safe, so you will want to seal your cutting board, and you pretty much want to do that with any kind of paint really that you're going to be using. Now, I'm just cutting around the word yum, and what is super cool about these stencils is, again, they have that fantastic adhesive backing to them. So what is really cool about this is when I stick it down, it is going to stay in place. So I don't have to worry about my stencil sliding around when I'm trying to get that perfect look, and it literally is reusable. Now, that spreader that I'm using, that's actually a tool. That is their chalk art spreader, but I am using it to just kind of make sure that my stencil is nice and flat. I probably should just be using my fingers, but hey, why not? It's there. And then you are going to literally use that to paint with. So as you can see, I'm going to add a little bit of paint to this, and you just start spreading it across that stencil. It is literally that easy. And because that stencil has mesh in it, it is filling it up nicely. And then check this out. Look how perfect that turned out. How adorable is that, especially on this cutting board? Now, I did spray this down with a clear coat, a sealant that I just purchased on Amazon, and it did darken it up a little bit, which is perfectly fine with me because I love all kinds of wood tones. You can still see that navy color through. And now I'm just going to stage it for my kitchen until I have to use it for my next party. Adding some olive oil, some salt and pepper, my mortar and pestle, and check out how adorable this is in my kitchen on my countertops. I really, really love this, and I love the way that it turned out, and I cannot wait to use it for my next holiday party. And for my next project, I did decide to go ahead and use this Rise and Shine stencil. I really like this stencil, and I thought it would be the perfect farmhouse gift for a good friend of mine who has an entire farmhouse kitchen. Now I am going to remove that stencil from that adhesive back once again and just stick it onto this metal sign that I picked up at my local dollar store. I thought that this would be the perfect way to use the chalk art paint. So I'm going to be using the chalk art, and I'm also going to be using a sponge brush that a Maker Studio sent me. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because I kind of want this to have an aged, almost shabby chic look. The chalk art spreader that you would typically use would give you really, really good coverage. And I thought with this sponge brush that I could get some fun dimension. I don't know. I'm going to kind of see what it looks like. And as you can see, it turned out perfect. I really love the way this looks. It looks like an aged sign, and I thought that it was so cool. Also, I really wanted to bring in some of that blue, so I'm going to take what's left over on my sponge brush, and I'm just going to kind of age the edges a little bit with that navy paint because I really love that navy paint. And then I had this great sunflower and navy ribbon that I thought I could use to hang on the wall. And it's going to be so perfect. My friend is going to absolutely love this. I just hope that she doesn't see this video first. I have never had so much fun with stencils in my life, and a maker studio really has some amazing stencils. These particular stencils caught my eye the moment I saw them, and I knew I wanted to make something with them. So for this, I am going to be using a Maker Studio's ceramic paint. Now, what's so great about this paint is that there's no baking in the oven. There's no excessive drying time. And it literally goes on with that same chalk art spreader that I showed you earlier. And yes, I had blue paint on this one just a few minutes ago, and I was able to clean it off really, really easily. Now, I have a fluted glass vase that I picked up at my local dollar store, and I am going to choose to use this bottom stencil because I loved this one, and I actually want to gift this to a neighbor of mine. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it. I'm going to use it right along the line of it. You can cut these, you can use them again because once again, these have those fantastic adhesive backings to them, and you can really create some very cool projects. Now, this particular stencil goes almost all the way around my vase, which is fantastic. So I'm going to kind of figure out the placement of where I need it to be. I'm going to trim off the edge just a little bit here, and then I am going to make sure that I figured out the proper placement before sticking this onto the vase. But again, because that backing is not a permanent sticking back, you can move this around. You can shake this around. You can do whatever you need to do to make sure that that is nice and straight. And then once you do have a good kind of lineup for it, just literally peel it away, stick it to the glass, and start painting. It is that easy. Once my stencil was in place, I took my chalk art spreader, I added my ceramic paint to it, and I just started working my way around the vase, painting over that stencil, making sure that I was getting into all of the little nooks and crannies, and I love the way this looks. You can really, really tell when you've got a good coverage on your stencil. Now it's time to do the big reveal, and once again, this stencil is 100% reusable. All you have to do is clean it, and you will see all of the detail that is left on the vase. I was really, really happy with it. There were a couple little places, that didn't come out perfectly, but that's fine. You can use a paintbrush, and you can literally paint using that same exact ceramic paint. For mine, the stars and the North Star, I wasn't totally happy with, so I just literally scratched it off with my fingernail before it started to dry. And then I just used some adhesive gemstones that I had as my North Star replacement, but I kind of liked the little bit of bling that I had on there. Now for the inside of the vase, I did add some of my faux snow, and then just a simple white candle in the middle just to keep this one very, very simple, very elegant looking. I was going to add some embellishment around it, and I knew that it was going to be on this tray in my living room next to my tree, and so I added some ornaments and a little bit of a wreath ring around the base of it. And again, I love the way this looks. To me, this is beautiful. I love how subtle this is. If you wanted to really make that major scene pop, you could use a red candle or a different colored candle. A white one was actually the only ones that I had on hand this year. And again, love the way this looks, especially with that wooden tassel and my handmade Christmas tree right next to it. And for my last project, I'm going to be using this large glass vase that I bought at Goodwill. It was $2.99, and then this happened to be the color of the day, so it was 50% off of that $2.99 price tag. Now, for the stencils, again, I'm using the mesh stencils from a Maker Studio, and they have so many good options left, but I think instead of using this wilderness scene that I was going to use, I'm actually going to use something a little bit larger. I loved this Merry Christmas stencil and thought that this could be a very cute way to use it. Now, the paints that I have are just the white, gray, and navy colors, but I'm going to use white because that's kind of the theme that I'm going with for the most part this year. Now, again, just using some scissors, I'm going to take my stencil, cut it off of that adhesive back, and then I'm just going to apply it. I'm taking my ceramic paint and that chalk art spreader, and I'm just going to be literally filling in this stencil. Remember, this stencil is kind of a mesh stencil and it has that adhesive back, so it's going to keep everything in place. And then I'm literally just going to start painting on this ceramic paint and working my way all the way around this stencil. I love the way this paddle works or this spreader works because you can really get into all of the details and get into every single nook and cranny. And I don't feel like I'm wasting a lot of paint either. That's what I really like about it because I put quite a bit of paint on there. And as I'm spreading it all around, I'm literally able to use every single bit of paint to complete this stencil. It's kind of crazy how far this paint really goes. This is kind of one of those situations where less really is more, and it turns out so beautiful almost every single time that I've used it. All right, and now it's time for that big reveal again. I'm going to start with that top corner, and then I'm going to pull it down towards the bottom and grab the bottom middle there and just kind of peel it all away at one time, working my way around. And this is kind of a live reveal because I've only got one vase, so it's the only shot. And as you can see, it is turning out so beautifully. Again, such an easy process. I have never worked with stencils that have been this easy before. And again, you take that stencil, you just put it back onto that piece of the plasticky paper that you peeled it off from, clean it, and you've got a stencil that you can use again for another project. Now, for the inside of this particular project, I am going to fill it up with more of my favorite things, the snow, and these LED light strings that I love so much. And I'm just kind of layering them, honestly. The light strings have those light wires on them, so they're going to be pretty easy to manipulate. Once I've got all my snow in the vase itself, then I can go ahead and adjust those accordingly. Also, that on-off switch, it's going to actually just kind of live right under the sled. That's going to be going into this little diorama here, so it's going to be easy to access it when I want to turn it off. So there's my sled all filled with those presents. I added one of those, what are they called? The bottle washer trees. This one is kind of flocked with the white flecks of snow, and then I've got one in solid white, and then I've got another tree that I'm going to add along with one more present, and I've got the perfect centerpiece or the perfect coffee table diorama display that is so just perfect. And to me, it is just everything about Christmas that I love so much. Cold weather, snow, presents, and family. I love this so much.